so welcome back again. I think this will be the last video I will do like this. It's going to be a deep dive, right? You've been warned. Too long didn't watch. Bit of that really. I just thought I would cover what it takes to restore a bad frame. Yeah. It's like I say, you don't have to watch this. It's going to be a bit boring, maybe a lot boring. I don't know, man. You decide. It just depends if you want to see the ins and outs. If you don't, fair enough. Click away. It's your choice. All right. So I bought the Morales from a guy in Germany. If I remember correctly, it was €160 for the frame, with a set of Bully Prowler forks, which are now on my barcode, which you will see coming up on the channel at some point, as well as a set of Dragonfly Munster bras, who I sold to a mate of mine for 50 quid. So by the time I'd paid the extortionate shipping and then the extortionate made-uppy fees, which customs charged me, I think it was £75 in customs charges, I had gotten to about £160 for the frame and the fork. Obviously I sold the bars, like I say, to a mate of mine in the UK, and that was where I began. Now if I go to what I saw in the listing, this is basically it. It looks alright, do you know what I mean? But it's a 5 footer. It looks okay from 5 foot. Obviously the guy taking the photographs of it sort of knows what he's doing, which, yeah, it doesn't show the horrors. It never does. Always bear that in mind. Why did the guy paint the bike in the first place and put skate stickers on it? I don't know. This is another picture he took. Again, like I say, it looks quite good. Do you know what I mean? It does. But I just knew straight away I was never going to get away with not restoring it. Sometimes people shouldn't do these things. It just causes someone else more work. So this is what we actually got when it landed in the UK. If I move my mouse pointer around, you can see we've got something there. I don't know what that was. Probably a dent. We've got a great big chip there, and there, and there, and there, and there, and there. That isn't grind rash, you can see now. That's how the sprocket, the dropouts were cut when I got the bike. You can see some impressions here, which we will explain in a minute, and so on and so on. So it isn't until you actually get something in your hands that you can ever reveal the true horrors. Yeah, but it was a very cheap Morales frame, so we can get over that. So this is the underside of the frame when I got it, and you can see there's something a little bit suspicious here where the light's catching it. It looks like a couple of scratches, and there's some more here and some more here. I would imagine that this one I'm pointing at right now, where I've left the pointer, was basically a chip in that extremely thick powder coat we discussed in the actual episode. Again, we've got the same sort of thing here. What I didn't realise was all of this is Bondo. It's cake, it's filler. Poorly done filler at that. So that's what I got, basically. So let's take a look at day one of stripping. As you can see, it wasn't pretty at all. If I enlarge in that a little bit, you can see here what I'm talking about with the dropouts. Yeah, they've clearly been cut with a laser or something and then welded to the bike. They've never been filed, they've never been cleaned up, they've never been dressed. The reason there's still black powder coat in this part I'm pointing at here is because it was kind of like a V shape where it had been cut, like I said, with a butter knife, or in this case a laser or something like that in the 90s. But you can see again, look, we've got filler. Yeah, we've got rust, we've got more dents. It's just more and more that the guy basically spent an afternoon throwing filler in it and putting orange paint on it. Yeah, it hasn't been done properly. It's filler, so it's porous. It's not even good filler, so it's full of air bubbles and stuff. And yeah, like I said to you, this is what you get when you don't pay 4 to 5 times the price for a mint frame. And this is why I do it, and this is why I have this hobby. If I paid 4 to 5 times for these frames, I wouldn't be able to afford to do it. So it's a bit of an oxymoron, really. That said, I do love taking things that have been basically ruined and putting them back to a somewhat ruined state. It's quite satisfying. So here you can see, again, this is a picture of the bike when I'd nearly finished it. This was somewhere during day 2. Nearly all of the powder coat is gone, and when we get to the bash tube, we start to reveal the horrors of the bash tube. So you can see we've got a dent here where the hand thing is. We've got a dent here. We've got one here, 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 here. Am I boring you? Is this repetitive? Yeah, it was a mess. So all of that had to be fixed. So let's go to the restore folder. Here you can see again that picture showing the dropouts. I hadn't done anything here. It was still on the cardboard downstairs. I hadn't dug out all that filler. I hadn't done anything. So this picture shows you what I got to after all the powder was gone and I had dug out all of that filler and everything else. Basically, I've put JB Weld in it, which is basically reinforced. It's a lot harder than filler. It's a lot smoother than filler. You can see it's quite shiny when you put it on. It's got no air bubbles in it. It's good stuff. At which point then, once that's been given 24 to 25 hours to harden up properly, I then come on at it with a file and I hand file it all smooth before sanding it and making it just like the metal around it. Really, I don't see any other way of doing that unless you're good with brazing and you've got all the equipment to put braze in there, which would be bloody awesome, but I don't have that equipment. This goes back to Travis. Travis, I don't have a powder coating oven. I don't have all of the gear needed. I don't have a sandblaster. Yeah, I think Americans take a lot for granted. Having the room to have that stuff would be pucker, you know what I mean? But I don't. I've got what I've got. So we work with what we've got. So yeah, that's That's round 1 of the JB Weld. Here you can see what it looks like. This stuff here has been dressed, as I discussed in the video itself. And what that means is any lumps of welding slag which spit off when it's being welded. Obviously there was a lot here because that's a bloody big weld in there. And there was some down here where the cable stop had been put in, and there was some here where these tubes have been welded together, and God knows what else. So in this picture here, you can see I've smoothed all of that off, so the whole frame is smooth, which is great. Obviously, there was a lot more sanding and filing and all that on the JB Weld. I don't think I got pictures of that because once it starts getting dirty, I don't want to get my phone out because I don't want to ruin my phone. Again, I don't have, you know, a studio with lights and cameras and equipment. I've got a phone. So here you can see I'm getting there now. I've smoothed off these dropouts where the hand is showing. They've all been filed off, so all of that nasty stuff that was hanging around and overlapping and that V shape is all gone. I'd actually put a bar in this tube here and pulled it out because it was dented in. I had also filled in this here with JB Weld and then filed it smooth. So all of that sprocket rash is now smooth. There's none of that left. And then after all of that, of course, it's time for primer. So here you can see I've got it out on what I use for painting, my stand. It's been given some acrylic primer. I don't like mixing types of paint because they don't like each other and they like to react and ruin 2 days' work. So that's the first shot of primer there. Obviously then we smooth that back by wet sanding it. Don't dry sand acrylic, it's quite sticky. It's dissolved plastic that then dries into plastic. You just ruin it. So yeah, wet sand, P800, and then basically this is the frame. When the effect layer, the gold flake pearl had gone down and it had been clear coated. So that's basically it finished. You can see here all of those dents are gone. All of the sprocket rash from inside there is gone. Basically everything's gone. It was about 4 or 5 days in total of work. And yeah, like I say, you'll get out what you put in. So if you just grab a can of orange paint like the German guy and you paint over the top of that horrible powder coat, that's what you're going to get. So yeah, so basically this was the bike once it had hardened up for a couple of days. I then fitted the decals, which I got from Gary on the BMX Museum. Thank you, Gary. You're a gentleman. New old stock decals that Bob sent him because he had a pile of them left. I've also fitted, obviously, the Odyssey gyro cut there and put the thing in to hold that in because it's just one of those jobs that I like doing before I start working on the frame, like putting parts on it. So that was that. Now there's a couple of cool things on this, and again, if you like a deep dive, you'll like this. So you'll remember I talked about that power disc. Here's the design picture that Gareth drew up in his software that he uses for his machines. As you can see here, it's got a 32mm hole, which is really strange, but there you go. Each bolt hole is 94mm or 94 BCD, and the total overall size at the time was 150mm because we didn't know what size this needed to be yet because he didn't have the parts in his hands. So this is it thrown into Fusion. Obviously the holes again are not, they're just pilot holes. They're not the sizes they needed to be because Gareth didn't have the parts to measure those holes and, you know, and to get them right. And obviously at that point, that was when Gareth started to work on it. This is it here. This piece here had to be made to hold the power disc onto the lathe. If I'd have known that, I might not have asked him to do it because I didn't realise that was a lot of work. And real friends feel bad for each other when you make their life a pain in the arse. So Gareth, you're the best, mate. So yes, that's it there, and it's basically finished. He was just turning the outer diameter, which in the end was 115mm, which once he had the parts, i.e. this chainring here, you can see that he's balanced on there with some drill bits, we could get it the right size without the chain rubbing on the power disc. So that was how that was made, which is really cool. At which point I brushed it using sandpaper, which takes a lot of time and turns your hands black. It's not fun. And again, let's come back to some of the other stuff. So here you can see I ordered some van pegs, which are the ones I'm pointing at here. These are chromoly and they're rock hard. I was going to drill these out to 14mm. You know, we all have these ideas of ours. They're absolutely fantastic at the time. But the drill bit just went blunt. They are rock hard, those G-Sport pegs. I've never encountered anything like it. So that was out the window. Now these pegs I bought for a different bike, but I ordered them at the same time. And what I didn't realise was, when you buy the pegs, they're really expensive. And I'm mumble grumble, you know, they're 20 odd quid each, which is ridiculous. What I didn't realise was G-Sport sends you an extra plastic body. So obviously that got my brain working. You know, hang on a minute, I've got extras. 2 extras that I'm not going to grind, that I'm probably never going to ride. What can I do with those? That's the answer. You take out the insert, you model it in Fusion, like so, and you send it over to Gareth, and then Gareth sends you a 3D printed tube with a piece of metal in it, and then when you take it out, you've got, you know, it's a magic trick. You've got 2 extra peg bosses. I'm eclectic, yeah. I'm very, I forget what the word my cousin used for it, but eccentric. I like to make things. I like to have things on my bikes that nobody else has, but not really because nobody else has, but because they were made. Yeah, they're one-offs. It's a great feeling, and I'm a massive fan of engineering and machines. I don't have any because, like I said earlier on, I don't have the space. That's just life. That's the way it goes. So that's a bit of a deep dive for you there on the restoration of the Morales. Like I said to you at the beginning, you don't have to watch it. If you did and you find this stuff interesting, we're going to be friends. Because I'm really into this boring crap. So yeah, that's been another episode. I'm firing them out left, right and centre at the moment. You know, quality content, mate. Yeah, and that's it. I hope you enjoyed. And you all take care until I see you in the next video.